This is the easier-to-read version of Lord of the Flies, Chapter 2, Fire on the Mountain, by William Golding, retold and voiced by Sara Simpson. Ralph blew the conch, and the boys came running to meet him on the big rock. The boys had sunburns and looked tired. The choir boys had started to mix in with the rest of the group instead of staying by themselves. There were 3 groups: the choir boys, the big boys, and the little boys. The little boys sat on the ground and looked up at Ralph. Ralph told the boys what he, Jack, and Simon had seen from the top of the mountain. It was an island. There weren't any other people here. There were pigs. "We need an army," Jack said, "for hunting. The pig got away before I could kill it, but I'll get it next time." Jack took out his knife and stabbed it into a tree trunk to show how serious he was about killing the pig. The boys had been talking, but they got quiet after Jack stuck the knife into the tree. "Yes, we'll need hunters to get us meat to eat," Ralph said. Ralph held up the conch shell over his head and looked out at the boys. "There aren't any grown-ups. We shall have to look after ourselves," Ralph said. The boys talked to one another for a moment, then they were silent. "And another thing, we can't have everybody talking at once," Ralph said. "We'll have to have hands up like at school. If a boy wants to talk, I will give him the conch. The boy holding the conch shell can talk and everyone else should listen, and he won't be interrupted except by me." Jack jumped up. He was excited. "We'll have rules," Jack cried excitedly. "Lots of rules. Then when anyone breaks them, we'll punish him." The boys sounded excited. They shouted things like "wee" and "awesome" and "amazing." Piggy came over to Ralph and took the conch. Piggy held up the shell. All the boys stopped talking and looked at Piggy. Jack looked at Ralph to see if he should stop Piggy from talking. Ralph smiled at Jack and patted the seat next to him to tell Jack to sit down. Jack sat down. "Who knows we're here?" Piggy asked the boys. The boys said things like, "The people at the airport, the teachers, my dad." "No, nobody knows we're here," Piggy said. "They knew where we were supposed to go, but we crashed. We didn't end up where we were supposed to go." Piggy gave the conch back to Ralph. Ralph hadn't thought about any of the things Piggy had said, but he pretended he had. "That's what I was going to say," Ralph said. "The plane was shot down. Parts of it caught on fire. We may be here a long time." The boys were silent. "But this is a good island," Ralph said, trying to make them feel better. "Jack, Simon, and I saw everything from the top of the mountain. There's food and water here. We can have a good time here while we wait for someone to come rescue us." The boys started to relax a little. "It's like a book here, like the book Treasure Island," Ralph said. "This is our island. It's a good island. Until the grown-ups come to fetch us, we'll have fun." Jack took the conch. The boys looked at him. "There are pigs here," Jack said. "There's food here. There's a stream where we can take baths and get water to drink." Jack gave the conch back to Ralph and sat down. All the boys were talking. At first, nobody noticed the little boy trying to take the conch to speak. The little boy was about 6 years old. He was very small. He had a big birthmark that covered one side of his face. The other little boys pushed him towards Ralph to get the conch. "Come on, it's okay," Ralph said to the little boy. The boy was so quiet when he spoke that nobody could hear what he was saying. The older boys laughed at him. "Let him talk," Piggy said. Piggy leaned down next to the little boy. The boy whispered into Piggy's ear. Piggy told the group what the boy said. "He wants to know what you're going to do about the snake thing," Piggy said to Ralph. Ralph laughed. The older boys laughed. The little boy looked like he was going to cry. "Tell us about the snake thing," Ralph said. The little boy whispered something to Piggy. "Now he says it's a beastie," Piggy said. "A beastie?" asked Ralph. "Yes," Piggy said. "He said the beastie was in the woods." "Don't worry," Ralph said to the boys. "There can't be a beastie on an island this small. You can only have beasties in big places like Africa or India." The boys nodded. They felt better. "He says the beastie came when it was dark," Piggy said. The boys looked worried again. Ralph laughed. "The beastie can't be real. If it came in the dark, nobody could see it," Ralph said. The boys laughed and cheered. The little boy whispered to Piggy's ear. He says the beastie came in the dark, then went away again. He says it wanted to eat him. He says it will come back tonight. He says the beastie turns into a vine during the day so you can't see it, Piggy said. But there isn't a beastie, Ralph said. Nobody laughed this time. Jack could see that the boys were getting worried. He grabbed the conch. There isn't a snake thing, Jack said. But if there was, we'd hunt it and kill it. We're going to hunt pigs and have lots of meat for everyone to eat. We'll look for the snake too. But there isn't a snake, Ralph said. We'll make sure there isn't a snake when we go hunting, Jack said. No one needs to worry. Ralph was annoyed, but he also felt another strange emotion he didn't understand. He felt responsible for the other boys. He also didn't like it when they disagreed with him. It was confusing. There isn't a beast, Ralph shouted. All the boys were quiet. Ralph picked up the conch again. The bad feelings were going away now, and he started to be his normal, funny self again. He changed the subject. Let's talk about the most important thing, Ralph said. I've been thinking. We want to have fun, and we want to be rescued. The boys started to talk again. They sounded happy and excited now that the talk about the beastie was over. We will be rescued, Ralph said. My father is in the Navy. He says there aren't any islands that haven't been discovered. He says the Queen has lots of maps that show every island in the ocean. That means the Queen has a map of this island. The boys sounded happy. A ship will come soon, Ralph said. It might even be my daddy's ship. We'll be rescued. Hearing that they would be rescued made the boys feel much better. They liked and now respected him. The boys started to clap for Ralph. Ralph looked to one side where Piggy was looking at him proudly. Ralph looked to the other side where Jack was smirking and clapping. Shut up, there's more, Ralph said, holding up the conch. We can help the men rescue us. We need to make a fire on top of the mountain. They'll see the smoke and they'll know we're here. Yes, a fire, several of the boys shouted at once. Half of the boys stood up at the same time. They were excited to make it fire. At home, their parents told them not to play with or touch fire, but their parents weren't here. Come on, follow me, Jack said. All the boys ran behind Jack towards the mountain. Piggy and Ralph stood all alone on the pink rock. They're acting like little kids, Piggy said. He sounded annoyed and disappointed. Piggy touched the conch respectfully. Piggy turned to look at Ralph, but Ralph was walking towards the mountain now, too. Piggy was upset at Ralph for acting just like all the other boys. Piggy sighed, bent down, and tied his shoes. The group of boys was getting farther away. Then, with the martyred expression of a parent who has to keep up with the senseless ebullience of the children, he picked up the conch and went to follow the group. The boys were on top of the mountain. Ralph pointed at the jungle below them. We can get wood for a fire down there. I can see lots of wood, Ralph said. The choir was waiting for Jack or Ralph to tell them what to do. Let's get firewood, Jack said to the choir. The choir boys went down and brought up wood for a fire first. Then the other boys went too. Sam and Eric tried to pick up a big log, but it was too heavy for them. Ralph, Jack, Simon, Roger, and Maurice helped them pick up the big heavy log. Ralph saw an even bigger log. I think it's too heavy, Ralph said. Not for us, Jack said. Ralph and Jack carried the big log together. They smiled at one another. When they got the log to the top of the mountain, Ralph stood on his head like he always did when he was excited. The big boys kept carrying wood up and putting it on the pile. The little boys were bored and were wandering around looking for fruit to eat. Sam and Eric had a smart idea and carried up dried leaves to help start the fire. Finally, the pile of leaves and wood was big enough. That was when Ralph and Jack realized that they did not actually know how to start a fire. They both looked embarrassed. Everyone was waiting for them to start the fire. Piggy was there now, holding the conch. Piggy, do you have any matches? Ralph asked. No, Piggy said, looking at the big pile of leaves and wood. That's a big pile of stuff you have there. Suddenly, Jack got excited. He pointed at Piggy. Piggy's glasses, Jack shouted. We can use them to start a fire. If you let the sun shine through the glasses, it will get hot enough to make fire. All the boys jumped on Piggy. Ralph took his glasses. Stop, Piggy said in terror. Give me back my glasses. I can't see. Stop pushing me. You'll break the conch. Ralph pushed Piggy out of the way. He sat down next to the pile of wooden leaves. He told the other boys to stand back so light would shine through Piggy's glasses. A tiny stream of smoke started to come from the wood. Soon there were big flames. All the boys cheered. Ralph gave Piggy back his glasses. The fire was burning up the wood quickly. Ralph yelled at the boys to get more wood. They ran back and forth, but the fire burned up the wood as quickly as they could put it onto the pile. The boys got tired and couldn't keep running. They laid down and watched the fire go out. "That wasn't good," Piggy said. "You made a fire, but there wasn't any smoke. The smoke is what the rescuers will see." Ralph didn't like Piggy saying the fire wasn't good. "You didn't even help with the fire," Ralph said. "You just sat there." "He sort of helped," Simon said. "We used his glasses to start the fire." "I've got the conch," Piggy said. "That means you have to listen to me right now. It's my turn to talk if I have the conch." "The conch doesn't count if you're up on the mountain," Jack said, "so shut up." "No, those aren't the rules," Piggy said. "I have the conch." "We need to put green branches on the fire to make smoke," said Maurice. "I have the conch," Piggy said again. "Shut up," Jack said to Piggy. Piggy gave up. He sat down and looked at the ground. Ralph took the conch from Piggy and looked at the boys. "We have to keep the fire going all day and all night," Ralph said. "That means someone will always have to be here to put wood on the fire. If a ship goes by, the fire has to be going so they'll see the smoke and come get us. We also need more rules. If the conch is here, it counts as a meeting. The person with the conch gets to talk." The boys agreed. Piggy started to say something, but he looked at Jack and decided not to. Jack took the conch. "I agree with Ralph," Jack said. "We've got to have rules and obey them. We're English, and the English are the best at everything, so we've got to do the right things. Ralph, I'll split up the choir, my hunters, into 2 groups. They will take turns staying here to keep the fire going." The other boys clapped. Jack was proud of himself. He waved the conch so they would be quiet again. "We'll let the fire burn out now," Jack said. "It's dark and you can't see smoke at night. We'll make another fire tomorrow and keep it going starting then. We'll also keep a lookout to watch for ships. If we see a ship, we'll put green branches on the fire to make more smoke so they see us." The boys all agreed that this was a good idea. The boy named Roger took the conch. "I've been watching the ocean since we got here," Roger said. "I haven't seen any ships. We may be on this island forever." "I told you we'll be rescued," Ralph said. "We may just have to wait a while." Piggy looked angry. He had tried to tell them the same things, but nobody wanted to listen to him. Piggy took the conch. "I've tried to tell you all of these things," Piggy shouted, "but you just keep telling me to shut up." The other boys started to yell at Piggy, but he didn't stop talking this time. "If anyone else says anything, you listen, but you tell me to shut up," Piggy said. Piggy looked down the mountain. Then Piggy laughed. It was a strange laugh, and it made the other boys quiet. "You got your small fire all right," Piggy said. Piggy pointed at the place where the boys had been picking up firewood. All of it was on fire. Big, hot flames were burning and the fire was spreading. The fire kept getting bigger and bigger. Seeing the big fire, the boys started cheering. Piggy understood why the big fire was bad, but the other boys didn't. They were just excited to see what they had done. Acres of jungle were on fire. "Shut up," Ralph yelled at Piggy. Ralph was embarrassed that Piggy was right and he was wrong. "I have the conch," Piggy said. "I have a right to talk." The other boys looked at Piggy, but they didn't care what he had to say. To them, the fire was exciting. Piggy was the only one who understood how dangerous it could be. "We have to let the fire burn out on its own," Piggy said. "The fire's burned up all the wood. I'm scared we won't have enough wood to make another fire now." "You're always scared, fatty," Jack said. Piggy looked at Ralph. When Piggy spoke, he sounded tired. "I have the conch," Piggy said again. "I have the right to speak, right, Ralph?" The twins, Sam and Eric, started to giggle. Soon all the boys were laughing. "We wanted smoke," the twins laughed. Piggy was angry now. He lost his temper. I have the conch, and you have to listen, Piggy yelled. The first thing we should have done was make shelters on the beach so we'd have a place to sleep at night. It gets cold here at night without any shelter. But the first time you hear the word fire, you run off and play with it. You're acting like a bunch of stupid kids. Now the boys were listening to Piggy yelling. How can you expect to be rescued if you don't put first things first and act proper? Piggy yelled. You made a fire that didn't work to signal a ship, and now it's out of control and the whole island is on fire, Piggy yelled. You may burn up all the wood. You say Ralph is chief, but you don't listen to him or give him time to make a plan. And what about the little kids? Who's watching them and taking care of them? We don't even know how many little kids there are. I told you to make a list of all the little kids' names, Ralph said to Piggy. You're supposed to know how many little kids there are. How could I get all their names? They were running all over the place and nobody would help me, Piggy yelled. I was trying to count them and get their names, but you said fire and they all ran away before I could finish. You've talked enough, Ralph shouted, snatching the conch from Piggy. You're the one who didn't take care of the little boys. It isn't my fault. And you took my glasses without even asking me, Piggy said. Shut up, Jack said to Piggy. There were little boys running around down there where the fire is, Piggy said. How do you know that they aren't still down there? Piggy was starting to gasp for air. The yelling and anger were giving him an asthma attack. Where's the little boy with the birthmark on his face? I don't see him, Piggy shouted. The crowd was silent as death. You know the little boy I mean, Piggy said. The one who talked about the snake thing. Where is he? A tree caught on fire and exploded. The vines covering the tree shot out in all directions. The vines looked like snakes. The little boys were scared. Snakes, the little boys cried. Piggy fell to the ground. He was crying. The little boy with the birthmark, where is he? Where is he? Piggy cried. The other boys looked afraid. They didn't want to believe the little boy with the birthmark was down there in the fire. Maybe he went back somewhere, Ralph said quietly. Nobody believed the boy had gone somewhere safe. They knew the truth. He was dead, and the older boys were to blame. The older boys should have been watching the younger boys. They were all silent. The fire kept burning.